Hey guys, I'm Aditya from Gadgets 360 and today I am going to compare two of the best smartphones under 20,000 rupees. Yes, I have the Motorola One Fusion Plus with me and the Poco X2. Both these smartphones are priced at 17,500 rupees. I really like the stock Android approach that Motorola has taken with the One Fusion Plus and the 120Hz display that's there on this Poco X2. So which of these two smartphones would win in this comparison? Stay with me right till the end of this video to find out. But before I go ahead, be sure to subscribe to the Gadgets 360 YouTube channel and click that bell icon so that you're the first to know when we have a new video. First, let's take a look at the pricing. The Motorola One Fusion Plus is available in a single configuration with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. The Poco X2 is available in 3 variants with up to 8GB RAM and 256GB of storage. First, let's talk about the design. The Poco X2 and the Motorola One Fusion Plus have very different designs. The Motorola One Fusion Plus is better for single-handed use, but the Poco X2 looks better and feels more premium. The Poco X2 sports a 6.67-inch LCD display with a 120Hz refresh rate, while the Motorola One Fusion Plus has a slightly smaller 6.5-inch LCD display with a 60Hz refresh rate. The Poco X2 uses Corning Gorilla Glass 5 for protection, whereas Motorola does not offer any sort of protection for the display. The Motorola One Fusion Plus and the Poco X2 both ship with Snapdragon 730G SoC, and I did not notice any lag or stutter on either device. The Poco X2 with its 120Hz display definitely feels smoother while scrolling through the menus. Both smartphones have bright displays, but while watching videos I found the Motorola One Fusion Plus to have the better output with superior contrast. The bottom firing speaker on this device is also louder, which adds to the overall experience. You will be able to game on either device easily. Both defaulted to high preset in PUBG Mobile and could run the game without any lag or stutter. Both smartphones have fast fingerprint scanners. The Poco X2 also has Face Unlock, which the Motorola One Fusion Plus lacks, though this isn't a deal breaker in any way. Now let's talk about software. Both phones run Android 10, but I'm a big fan of the near stock Android experience that you get on the One Fusion Plus. There are no ads, no preloaded bloatware, and very little customization other than Moto action gestures. On the other hand, Poco X2 software works just fine, but I'm not a fan of the ads, spam, and the bloatware on this device. If you like MIUI, you won't mind this much, but I prefer the cleaner UI on the Motorola One Fusion Plus. Now's a good time to talk about the battery life. The Motorola One Fusion Plus leads with a 5000 mAh battery, but the Poco X2 isn't far behind with a 4500 mAh battery. You will be able to go about a day and a half before needing to charge either of them. In our HD video loop test, the Motorola One Fusion Plus lasted 15 hours and 45 minutes, whereas the Poco X2 managed to last for 13 hours and 45 minutes. Motorola ships an 18-watt charger in the box, whereas the Poco ships with a 27-watt charger. The Poco X2 charges much faster because of its smaller battery and faster charger combination. Most new mid-range smartphones these days have 4 cameras, and these two devices are no exception. You can see the camera specs on your screen now. Both devices managed very good details in daylight, but the AI on the Poco X2 was a tad too aggressive for my liking, bumping up the contrast excessively. The wide-angle camera on the Poco X2 fared much better, delivering better details compared to the Motorola One Fusion Plus, and surprisingly, the colors weren't boosted aggressively. For close-ups, both phones simulated depth of field very well, but the AI on the Poco X2 boosted colors, making this shot look artificial. While shooting portraits, it was the Motorola One Fusion Plus that managed better edge detection and more accurate colors. For macros, the Motorola One Fusion Plus produced better details thanks to its higher resolution sensor. Low-light camera performance isn't very good with the Motorola One Fusion Plus. The Poco X2 managed to capture much brighter photos with better details. With night mode enabled, the Motorola One Fusion Plus kicked things up a notch in terms of quality, but the Poco X2 still outperformed it with slightly better details and less grain in the output. For low light close-ups, the Motorola One Fusion Plus performed better with more natural looking colors and better details. The Motorola One Fusion Plus has gone with a pop-up selfie camera. whereas the Poco X2 has a dual selfie camera setup. In daylight, it was the Motorola One Fusion Plus that managed to click better selfies, whereas the Poco X2 selfies had a yellowish tinge. In low light, too, the Poco X2's shots had a slightly warmer tone, but the level of detail was on par with that of the Motorola One Fusion Plus. Both phones are capable of 4K video recording. 4K video was good on both these devices, but the Poco X2's output showed an occasional shimmer. In daylight, while shooting in 1080p, both phones manage decent video stabilization. Colors on the Poco X2 are saturated, while the footage from the Motorola One Fusion Plus looked sharpened. Low light video performance is slightly better on the Poco X2 for both 1080p as well as 4K video recording. The hardware of the Motorola One Fusion Plus and the Poco X2 is pretty evenly matched, especially considering that both these phones use the exact same processor. If you prioritize looks and design on a smartphone, the Poco X2 will grab your attention thanks to its premium design and shiny color variant. The Motorola One Fusion Plus excels elsewhere, offering a better display coupled with a louder speaker and cleaner software. The cameras are a bit of a mixed bag though, and both smartphones could do with some improvements through software updates. If I had to pick between one of these two, I would pick the Motorola One Fusion Plus because it's simply easier to live with. And in spite of its recent price hike, it still manages to undercut the similarly spec'd Poco X2 by 1,000 rupees, which tips the scales in its favor. So that was my comparison between the Motorola One Fusion Plus and the Poco X2. Now, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, for all things tech, stay tuned to Gadgets360.com.